Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? Whether you're upsizing or downsizing, the Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegrand, G-R-A-N, group at edinarealty.com or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. The Grand Group with Edina Realty, 7-time Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine Super Agent Award winners. Men for the Win is part of the Pull Tab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pull Tab Sports. On this episode, David and Hoges recap the Twins' 3-game series against the Milwaukee Brewers. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me, special guest in studio, Andrew Hoges Hoganson. Dan is still gallivanting in Texas, and he's been missing out on this Minnesota Twins winning streak. Unfortunately, Hoges, today what we have to talk about is the streak of 13 straight wins coming to an end. It's sad, but also, Hoges, this went on a lot longer than I ever thought it would.
Yeah, it for sure did. I feel a bit like Zebby today, giving up the run that ended the scoreless streak. I'm happy that I'm recording these episodes. This is still a great series, but I feel partially responsible. Like maybe if Dan was recording now, we would be talking about a 14-game winning streak.
So I did have a couple of different buddies actually text and say, are you sure it's wise for Dan not to be recording?
I didn't like it. When you guys told me it was 2 in a row, I was like, this feels like something we shouldn't be messing with, boys.
Gotta be careful.
It's not baseball if it's not superstitious.
Yes.
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
You have to be. You just have to be. But yeah, I mean, it was still a phenomenal series. It brought back some, I mean, we haven't had these 3-game series in a while with the Brewers. You and I actually way back in the olden days went to a 3-game series there, and I got a little bit scared because I don't know if you remember, David, but we were a little late to the first game, and the Twins went up 4-0 in the first inning. When we walked in, the Brewers pulled ahead in like the 3rd inning, and the Twins never led the rest of the series. So we literally never saw the Twins score a run to take the lead the entire series, and they got swept. So we'll get to it. But in game 1, when the Twins went up right away, I was just like, I don't like this. This feels a little bit like 2009 all over again.
Well, yeah, I mean, they did pull through. We'll get into it here. But, I mean, going into the series, the big news, obviously, after Correa and Buxton had that collision in center field, they both were put on the 7-day IL for concussion protocols. That meant that Fitzgerald from the Saints was called up, a shortstop with a mullet, Hoges, that's up there as far as mullets go.
I have magic hair that glows when I sing.
Just get it out of the way. Just get it out of the way right away, then we don't have to talk about it again. I'm proud of you. Well done. Well done.
And then, of course, Twins Twitter was furious that it wasn't Carson McCusker getting the call
mad.
Up, who
so mad.
I like to call Minnesota Aaron Judge.
All rise for Dan's Judge love.
But so he got the call up actually after we found out that Buxton also needed to be added to the 7-day concussion protocol list. And then Danny Coulomb, a big loss that we didn't know about, was also put on the IL. And then Zebby Matthews, who was called up to make the start here today on Sunday, took his place. So a lot of moves. You're going in with a very depleted roster because you don't have Correa, you don't have Buxton, you don't have Coulomb, you don't have Wallner. Castro is still fighting things off after fouling off a ball off of his knee. Bader's not 100% because he's got a pulled groin. And you're playing a game, Hoges, with a roster full of guys who some of these names we didn't know because they didn't exist in the Twins organization at the start of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that's why it's hard to feel. I know we talk about recency bias all the time on this show, especially these Sunday games. I don't really feel it right now. I still feel really, really proud of this streak that they had and of that 2 out of 3 because of those reasons you just mentioned. I mean, that was about as band-aid of a team that you can possibly come up with, and they played pretty phenomenally. And today, I mean, even today, it came down to 1 catch, and maybe we're still in that ball game.
Yeah, well, with that, Hoges, let's go ahead and jump into the series recap.
Series recap.
Well, my goodness, Hoges. Game 1, Twins win this one 3-0. The Twins pitching continued to be phenomenal. The biggest thing here, Hoges, we'll talk more about this later, but 34 scoreless innings. We'll talk about it in Game 3 when that streak came to an end. But that is insane. But so Joe Ryan pitches like a crazy person, also looks like a crazy person at the mound.
He does.
So he had 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. Weird, man. Very Zach Greinke-esque here. squatting between pitches. He smiled at the third base ump when he didn't call a check swing that he thought should have been called. He thought he gave up a home run at one point, so he literally took his glove off and threw it on the ground. And then as opposed to just like picking himself up, Kersey Jr. makes a catch at the wall, and Joe Ryan just sits there and claps on the mound like he's not even playing baseball, like he's at some matinee performance at the Guthrie.
I really like Joe Ryan, and he's definitely feeling some type of way these last couple of games. But this game was even more impressive because in his postgame, he said he didn't feel that great. I mean, he had that 31 pitch first inning or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Said he couldn't locate at all, but he knew where he was missing, and so he was able to limit the damage. I mean, and saying limit the damage when he gave up 2 hits and 1 walk is unbelievable. But he clearly didn't. I mean, it was still noticeable watching that he did not have his best stuff. And what a start for a guy. And even the last couple of starts, I'm sure he maybe is still going through that sickness a little bit. It takes a while to recover from that. Really fun to see.
Yeah, so top of the first, Twins get on the board early, thankfully. Larnach's hit by pitch, Jeffers singles, and then France hits an RBI single. Twins are up 1-0. And of course, my guy Cody Clemens comes in an RBI single. Twins are up 2-0 before Ryan even has to throw a pitch. As you mentioned, the bottom of the first was tricky. He has to throw 30 pitches, but he doesn't give up any runs. Top of the second, Kersey Jr. singles, Vasquez singles, Larnach singles, and then Jeffers grounds into a double play with the bases loaded, but it scores a run, so the Twins are up 3-0. There were a couple of times here in this series, Hogs, where it just felt that even with the bases loaded, it's like if we have one of those guys on this team who's healthy, they score a couple more runs here.
For sure. But again, another Ryan quote here. He was saying when we went up 3-0 here, he was like, it's over. Like, we're too good right now. Our pitching staff's been pitching too, which is fun that it's him. But it's just, I love the confidence. And you said that a little bit in the last one. When you're on a streak like this, things tend to just bounce your way a little bit. And you have that little bit, like guys are just given that little extra oomph. I think you saw that in this game.
During that run, singles in the top of the second, Castro actually has to leave the game after fouling a ball off of his knee. There's virtually no bench at this point because Buxton was still technically active. It was a very confusing time for Rocco, I'm sure. But bottom of the fourth, there's this great play by Lewis. I don't know how to explain this, and this perspective has changed since I wrote these notes a couple of days ago. But whenever I see Lewis at the plate, he still looks injured to me. Like it looks like his swing just isn't as smooth as it has been in years previous. But when he's in the field, he looks like he's in the best shape of his life, Hogs.
Well, David, you know what it is. It's the game we went to not together but sat 3 rows apart. When he ran to first after that first ground ball and he basically ran slower than I think you would even be able to run to first base. We both still have that in our head. So when he's at the plate, he just looks like a broken man. Again, things have changed a little bit today, but like, and you're right, in the field, he's been phenomenal. And he's showing some range in there too. It's like those fast twitch muscles are working well, but he's just not firing. Maybe today was a start of something new.
Here's to hoping. So bottom of the seventh, Brock Stewart gives up a couple of singles, but then folks go look at either Pitch Savant or MLB and look at the game day and look at the strikeout pitches that Stewart gets here. They're as on the line as you can get of the strike zone for the ump to call it a strike. And they were good calls. The ump called a really great zone, but Stewart pushed that envelope so much. Beautiful pitches to get out of that inning.
I really like having him back. I think he's one of the top 3 guys in our bullpen, especially with Coulomb being down. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about Jax or Sands either, but like Stewart really is important to this bullpen. We just haven't seen him healthy that much. I hope he stays that way.
It would be a big boost to this bullpen, especially because Coulomb being out for 10 days is going to hurt.
And any pitcher injury, David, we talk about this ad nauseum. You just hold your breath. Like,
yes.
Sure, forearm strain or whatever it is. I don't like it, and no. that stuff tends to snowball a little bit.
Bilateral elbow weakness, I think.
Yeah,
is what
right.
So anyway, bottom of the 8th, bottom 9th, Jackson Sands finish out the game strong. And at this point, Hogs, I'm asking, looking at that lineup, how does this team continue to win? And obviously, dominant pitching that literally is not allowing the opponent to score a single run. It's hard to lose games like that.
It felt like we stole one almost. Because Ryan didn't pitch that well and we only scored 3 runs. It really felt like we stole one here. I didn't have high hopes going into Saturday's game after this one. I kind of thought, well, hey, we got at least one out of this series. Maybe we can heal up by the Guardians. I was thinking the old Rocco mindset.
This lineup, it only looks kind of bad if you read down the line of the starting lineup of Saturday's game. Larnach, Jeffers, Lee, France. All of that seems normal. Then Clemens, Lewis, Bader, Kersey Jr., Vasquez. And you're like, why are Jeffers and Vasquez? Okay, Jeffers is DHing. That makes it. Why is Kersey? Oh, yeah, everybody's injured. I thought Bader was injured. Well, yeah, but he's really the only guy left who can play left field. Like, there were a lot of question marks on this lineup, but it's like, what's Rocco supposed to do?
That lineup got 18 hits. That lineup that you just read right there got 18 hits, and Bader didn't get a single one, which is hilarious because my buddies were at this game and they're like, hey, we're making a bet. Pick one Twin to get a hit in this game. And I picked Bader, and he's literally the only guy in the lineup who didn't get a hit.
What's the opposite of playing the Powerball? That's what you should do.
Yeah, I should have.
Don't play the Powerball. Anyway, game 2. Twins win this one 7-0. Lopez, 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. His season ERA now, Hogs. Now, granted, he was on the IL for a bit here, so he doesn't have as many starts as other guys. 2.4.
Awesome. I mean, just awesome. We're at that point where we were 2 years ago, where they're giving out like the AL Cy Young like candidates or whatever, and you got 3 guys looking at you. I mean, Ryan and Lopez have been phenomenal. Lopez is on fire right now. He is nearly unhittable. It's fun watching his sweaty body out there, and I love it.
'Cause my chest is cold and my arms aren't.
So I was trying to write up the notes on how to write this, and I'm just going to give it to you all in one slog, because the craziest thing about this box score, folks, if you look at it, the Twins score 7 runs. And if I had said, hey, throw out some guesses of how you think they scored these runs or how many runs per inning, 1 run per inning in 7 of the innings
with 18 hits,
insane.
And it's still only 1 run. Yeah, it's crazy. I'll sit back, David. It's the Piranhas, but I'll sit back and listen.
Top of the first, Jeffers hits a home run, so the Twins are up 1-0. Top of the second, Lewis double, Vasquez RBI single, Twins are up 2-0. Top of the third, Jeffers double, Lee single, France RBI single, Twins are up 3-0. This is the one where they probably should have had more, but Brooks Lee was actually thrown out at home by Frelick on a great play. It was actually... Quick side note here to Tommy Watkins. He's had some pretty good calls the last few series where he's held guys when he should hold them.
And
he sent them when
okay?
he should send them. Even in this moment here where they didn't score, I still think it was the right call by Watkins in this moment.
I am speechless. I'm scared. I feel like I need to get Jenny on the phone here real quick because I just need to do a wellness check, like something. Are you just really man, that streak, David, that streak did something to you. You're a changed man. I'm excited to hear you the rest of this podcast now.
Yeah. Anyway, top of the fourth, Larnach singles, Jeffers singles, Lee with an RBI single, so the Twins are up 4-0. Top of the fifth, Cody Clemens, our guy Cody Clemens, who I'm not really sure how long he's going to stay on the roster, but at this point, it'd be silly to remove him. He hits a solo home run, so the Twins are up 5-0. Top of the sixth, a Larnach triple followed by a Brooks Lee sac fly. Twins are up 6-0. And then top of the ninth, Bride doubles, Lewis singles, and then Kersey Jr. hits an RBI single. Twins are up 7-0. The pitching, the Brewers scattered a couple of hits, but nothing worth noting here, Hogs. This was a very clean game from the defensive side of the ball.
I mean, the bullpen only gave up 1 hit after Lopez went out. And when you have a start where you can have Topa, Alcala, and Funderburk come in, especially when this bullpen's been getting a lot of use, this one was great. It was kind of what I was sarcastically talking about. Wouldn't it be nice if the Twins just went up 12-0 and we got to throw some position players out there? They kind of did that, the more realistic version of that in this game.
So game 3, this is where the streak comes to an end, both the scoreless streak as well as the win streak. Twins lose this one 2-5. Again, you couldn't expect this lineup to continue to win these games. There was a point, Hogs, where I started to question if they made some sort of deal with an under boss of the realms of hell or something in order to get these wins with this lineup. But Matthews comes up to make the start. He's been phenomenal at AAA, but my goodness, does he struggle here, Hogs. 3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks with 5 strikeouts. It was just rough watching him on the mound, especially in the third here, where he just loses control and he can't throw a strike.
It was a weird start, though. I mean, I know he didn't look great, but he didn't really get hit all that terribly hard. It was a lot of singles. Like, it wasn't this game, even though they lost 5-2, was not horrible for me to watch. I thought he did all right. It just felt like you said, maybe we were due for one to come back down to earth a little bit.
So bottom of the second, the Brewers string together 3 singles to score 1, but Zebby limits the damage there. Bottom of the third, as we alluded to, he just lost control. He had 2 strikeouts, Hogs. So there's 2 outs on the board, and then he walks 3 straight batters, which you can't do at that point. So Collins hits an RBI single to score 2, and then Frelick hits an RBI single. So the Brewers are up 4-0 by the end of the third. And at this point, you're starting to think, okay, maybe this streak comes to an end. But then, Hogs, there's a little bit of hope here. Top of the fourth, Royce Lewis hits his first home run of the season, so the Twins are now only down 4-1, and then they load the bases with 2 outs. Jeffers comes to the plate, who's been swinging the bat pretty well, and he flies out to right to end the threat, which was a little bit of a bummer because I thought, oh my goodness, if they're going to keep this streak going, this is when they have to capitalize.
And it was fun too because you felt like they were still in it. The players did too. You felt like they were still going to be able to come back.
So top of the seventh here, Larnach doubles. Brooks Lee hits an RBI single. So the Brewers are still up at this point 4-2. Top of the eighth, we're going to talk about the threat that the Twins offered here a little bit later. But in the bottom of the eighth, the Brewers add 1. The Twins do nothing in the ninth. So again, that final is 5-2. The streak comes to an end, Hogs. And when it comes to baseball, consistency is key. But you know when else consistency is key, Hogs? It's when you're going to the supermarket and you want to make sure the products that you want are available, fresh, and ready. And let me tell you, Hogs, Cub Foods is the place to find those things. Spring is coming to a close. Summer is right at our doorstep. It's time to think about getting the grill ready, Hogs, for those big beginning of summer celebrations here. The rains will stop. The sun will come out to shine. Lucky for you, Cub Foods is your one-stop shop for all your grocery needs. With everyday fresh products and a wide selection, you'll be in great shape to host the next grill out with all your backyard essentials. Grab your fresh produce, deli meats, party trays, and bakery all in one stop. With over 100 locations in Minnesota, check out your local Cub on your next shopping trip for all your springtime essentials.
Touch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
You know, Hogs, what's worse than watching this streak come to an end is watching Dan Thompson be notified that he won Puckett's Picks and have to deal with the condescending text message that I won, ? Yes, the Twin streak has ended, but Dan Thompson's streak of losing has also come to a close.
I thought it was pretty funny. Definitely mocking me there. But to be fair, mine was not sarcastic. I did not know if I had won or not.
Well, you didn't know who you had taken officially either, which was part of the problem.
But to be fair, I won both either way.
Yes. It is a little bit funny because Dan had said when he took Lewis before, he took him because he wanted to be the one to get Lewis's first home run, and he was able to do so. So Dan wins with 8. The listeners come in second with 6. You and I, Hogs, tie with 4. You actually did better than I did, though, because Vasquez left less guys on base.
After game 1, I had the lead,
yes,
and I was getting pretty cocky because that would have been an all-time one right there.
Yes, certainly. Season standings then, Hogs. You're still in the lead with 5.5. I'm right behind you at 5. Dan now in third place with 4. The listeners at 2.5. A very evenly spread Puckett's Picks so far this season, Hogs.
Yeah, now that the listeners are finally actually winning some games now.
Yes. Points-wise, though, Hogs, you still have a commanding lead with 57. I have 41. The listeners have 30. Dan has 23. He had a rough stretch there of a lot of negative.
He was negative. Yeah, he was in the red for a while there.
It wasn't good. Well, with that, Hogs, let's go ahead and push forward to Beast versus Bench.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
Now, Hogs, I'm going to let you go first, and I'm not going to mock you just because last episode you didn't mock me for doing something very similar.
This is the only time that I don't feel guilty about doing this. I'm giving my Beast to the pitching staff. 34 innings, 38 strikeouts in that scoreless streak. Unbelievable. It's actually 34 2/3 if we're going to get really down to it, but it was phenomenal. It's the reason they won 2 out of 3 of this. That game 1 game, they had no business winning. Game 2 was nice seeing the offense, but when your pitching staff does that with how much they've been worked, even at the end of that Orioles series with the doubleheader, this was a phenomenal showing by them.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. How do you not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just they've been so crazy good. It's just baseball is a game of statistics, and this is definitely an outlier. Like if you look at staff ERAs, the Twins for the last 34 innings are at 0. It's like, how on earth is that even possible?
But I did like what Ryan Jeffers was saying at the end, like right at the tail end of the streak. I think it was on Friday or Saturday. He said it didn't feel like they were winning fluky games. And last year when they won 12 in a row, he said some of those games just felt a little bit fluky. Like weird stuff happened. The White Sox ran into 8 million outs on the bases, stuff like that. He said this one we're playing much better baseball and hopefully it's more sustainable. Granted, that's an easy thing to say, but hopefully they do sustain this. And from a guy who's back there catching them, that's good to hear too.
Yeah, I think for my Beast, I have to go with Cody Clemens, actually. Believe it or not. 6 for 13, Hogs. The guy was always hitting the ball, always on base, played solid defense when he was called upon. I wanted to give it to Ryan Jeffers, but he had a couple of big moments here in this series, Hogs, especially in Game 3, where a hit could have changed the outcome of these games drastically.
Yeah, I agree with you. If Jeffers gets a hit today, I think that changes your mind for you.
No question. Who do you have in your bench, Hogs?
I went with Bader, which seems unfair. The guy's got a pulled groin, but he did go 0 for 8 in this series, and he also cost my buddy some money because he was the guy that I said was going to get a hit yesterday. So really, the rest of the lineup did pretty good, all things considered. So it feels a little gimmicky now, but I'm giving it to Bader.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares about your money, Hogs. Nobody at all.
I do.
And your wife probably does too. I got to give it to Zebby Matthews, and I wouldn't actually have given him the bench moniker if so much of what he struggled with hadn't been his walks. If the Brewers were just on him, or maybe his stuff didn't have the best movement. But dude, you're just hurting yourself. And one of the things that keeps this pitching staff in such good shape is they do not offer free passes, Hogs. And I've come to the point, I think, the older I get, the more frustrated I get with walks.
Oh, yeah.
Because I understand that you don't want a guy to beat you, but you can't let him on base for free. It's different if you're pitching way outside to a guy who's always swinging at low and away sliders. But if you're pitching to a guy who doesn't have a strong whiff rate, who tends to stay within the zone, I would much rather have him beat you than you walk him. And you and I always have this conversation about with the bases loaded, giving up a walk in that scenario is basically unforgivable in my mind. Even if you give up a grand slam, at least make the guy beat you. Do not walk him.
Yeah,
I know I'll get hate for that. I don't
No,
care.
I agree with you, though. I'd rather see them give up a grand slam than a walk with the bases loaded. I stand by that. It just irks you, especially as someone who played. When you're in the field and your pitcher's loading the bases with a walk, it just takes it out of you. It takes it out of you at the plate, too.
Quite frustrating. But with that, Hogs, here, let's go ahead and push forward Rocco's Rewind.
Rocco's Rewind.
Hogs, do you think at this point Rocco was just as confused as we were as to how this team keeps winning?
Well, did you see his post-game interview? He was basically like, I don't want to talk about it too much, and I don't really want to think about it, but it's fun to watch. And it was such a great quote because it was like, I don't know. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
Let's not say anything. Let's just have it keep happening.
I know Correa's mindset was a little bit more realistic, I think, where he's like, everybody kind of had us down and out because of the way the season started, but he goes, that size of sample, it's a small sample size, Hogs, at the beginning of the year, it just feels worse because that's all the sample that you have to go on.
And I tried telling myself that. We tried talking about it on some of those earlier episodes, but it's hard not to. It's what your ERA is. There's a great Christian Yelich interview that happened just a bit ago, and he was talking about if you start the season 0 for 21 or 1 for 21 and your batting average is like 87 at the beginning, that hurts way more than if you're batting 280 down the line and then you go 0 for 50. It looks way worse because your batting average is so impacted by that. It's the same with these wins and losses. So yeah, I think Rocco is surprised by this.
What do you have for Rocco, Hogs?
So we kind of got into it a little bit on our last episode with just talking about how Rocco is really managing to win this. Do you think that mindset changed because his job was on the line? So he knew there might not be a tomorrow to win that ball game. We need to win now. Or do you think that was a conscious decision because of that, or just something that he decided more at the beginning of the year to do?
I don't know. It's a really good question because, let's just say the Twins were playing 500 baseball and then he kind of started to use relievers in this way. I think it becomes a little bit more obvious that it's an actual mindset shift. I think this makes a lot of sense, though. And I guess this is harder to prove out, right? Because we'd really have to go back historically and see when he's using high leverage guys versus when he's not, and at what points in what games. But I think just from a feeling perspective, and Hogs, this podcast, much of what we say is based upon feelings here. You're not going to find
all is based on fact. I don't know what you're talking about.
Not a lot of statistical research into how to answer this question exactly, but it would not surprise me if Rocco was definitely managing in a more drastic fashion, knowing his personal employment is on the line. I think that's a great question, Hogs, and I would not debate someone who was going to stand firmly to say certainly he's managing differently because he knows he's on the hot seat.
Minnesota moment.
So I got to go game 2, bottom 5. Pablo Lopez, Hogs. In his interviews, I still can't get over it. His voice is always higher than I think it's going to be. Same with Tim Duncan. If you've never seen a Tim Duncan interview, watch that interview because it's just very confusing to me why his voice is so high for such a giant human.
It's such a great comparison. It's so similar to those two.
But I would say the most swaggery I've ever seen Pablo was in the postseason against the Astros when he showed up with the Santana. He's always wearing the Santana jersey. Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's the most swagger I've seen him show. And on the mound, really chill dude.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't see him yell. Even in big moments, you don't really get much out of him. Well, game 2, bottom 5, he K's the side, and he does a move, Hogs, that if you took away the face and you just showed me the body movement, give me no identifying characteristics of the pitcher on the mound, and show me that motion where he slaps his own chest like I'm him and said, "What pitcher is this?" Pablo Lopez would be on the very bottom of that list, Hogan.
Oh,
so
for sure.
That's my Minnesota moment, because it was so cool, because you can tell this team has some swagger. I mean, they're in the bullpen chugging Red Bulls before the game. Anytime you're telling me Pablo Lopez, the most chill guy, if you have a guy as chill as Pablo Lopez showing off that much swagger, you know that clubhouse has got to be hopping, Hogs.
That's what's so fun about these streaks. He didn't want to be the guy to give up that run, and so he was pumped up. I love to see that. You're not showing anyone up. You're just feeling it with your guys out there. Like, I love that. I love the bullpen. Dan Hayes tweeted today that they need like a camera in the Twins bullpen all the time because they're just having way too much fun out there. But winning baseball is fun. I know you mock me for that, and you mocked me for it last episode, but it truly is, and everyone brings their game to another level. Let's hope this continues. Like LaTroy said right after the game today, win the next one, start another streak. Like, I hope they do that. I went with the Churio catch today on Royce Lewis. Top of the 8th, Clemens hit a double. Royce Lewis looks like he hits his second home run. It's going out to dead center. Churio makes an unbelievable catch. It's a little annoying because it's kind of like the Castro one from the last series that I picked as my Minnesota moment, because it's a bit over the shoulder. The side angle that they did, that MLB and then Talking Baseball posted it as well. Phenomenal catch. 100% would have been a home run. That would have made it 4-4. It felt like that was the pivotal moment in this series for the Twins to have gotten the sweep. I feel like if they get that home run, they go on and win this game. It was a great catch, and it was kind of cool to see because that guy struggled at the plate. It makes a great play in the field. Yeah, it was a bummer, but it's good to see Lewis hitting the ball like that, him tipping the cap. I always love that moment when the guy just acknowledges, like, yeah, that was a great catch. What am I going to do? So that was my Minnesota moment. Felt like it turned the series there.
It's always easier to appreciate that when your team has just won 13 in a row.
Absolutely.
Like, if we were sitting here and the Twins had just lost 6 in a row,
I'm not
and
picking
that's
that one.
I'm doubtful that that's your Minnesota moment. But yes, a very phenomenal play. And we do, on this podcast, we appreciate well-played baseball, regardless of who does it, just especially when it's done by the Twins.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's Musings.
So, Hogs, I'm looking at the schedule here, and the Twins just went on a crazy streak. It came to an end, and now they hit the AL Central at a time when the roster is likely at its weakest from a positional player perspective. The pitching staff is almost healthy outside of Coulomb. So my question is, you're probably looking at the next 3 series before you're really getting guys 100% back to health. It's the Guardians, the Royals, and the Rays. Each of these are 3-game sets. What are your realistic expectations for what this team is going to do until they come back to health with Buxton, Correa, Coulomb, and Wallner?
I'm going to pull a Dan Thompson here when you ask this question about realistic expectations for Royce Lewis coming back. I think they're going to win every single one of these series. I truly do. It feels like this team has got into something special, and these replacement players are playing out of their mind. I don't know. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid again. I'm all in on this team right now. They've got me back. They've got that swagger. That's my realistic expectation.
I really want them to take at least 2 against the Guardians, because I do think the Guardians have just been a team. It just seems, for whatever reason, I don't think they're as good as they play the Twins. No. It's so frustrating to watch, and I know.
They aren't. They pull away in the 9th inning all the time. Like, they truly aren't. They're just getting those clutch hits.
Yes. I was just about to say, I'm trying not to buy into all the people online talking about luck merchants that the Guardians are and everything. But that's how it feels whenever they play the Twins. It's so frustrating that, like, they find a way to win, and it's just, it shouldn't be that way. So take 2 of 3 against the Guardians. That's really what I want. The Royals, I'm not really sure what the Royals are. I'm still not sure what the Royals are.
Yeah, the Guardians and the Royals are both scuffling right now too. They're both 4-6 in their last 10. The Twins are actually in second place. This little streak, not little streak, but this streak, finally the Central started losing some games, and they finally gained some pretty serious ground. It's an important stretch here, no doubt, and they are going into it shorthanded, but until they prove to me otherwise, let's go. Let's win these games.
Let's do it. Cody Clemens, Carson McCusker.
I mean, why not? Why not?
Your question, Hogs.
So we got into this a little bit last episode that I wanted just some more clarification. You were like, there's absolutely not going to be 4 playoff teams from the AL Central. No chance there's 3 playoff teams from the AL Central. I mean, I'm taking a break here for a little bit. I'm not on an episode for a while. So I want to ask you this question. With what you've seen so far this year, are the Minnesota Twins a playoff team?
Yeah, and I'll stay true to that for a long time. And my answer is the same every time. Pitching wins championships, Hogs. And when you have the caliber starting rotation that the Twins currently have in their top 3, and a bullpen that's in the top 3 or top 4 in all of baseball, as long as the offense can even be adequate here, Hogs, this team could definitely be competitive in a postseason series, even a deep postseason series, because the pitching is so dang good.
This is probably the most obvious analysis I've ever done in my life, but they were teetering. They needed that streak like nobody's business that could absolutely turn the season around. I was giving up hope, but they're back now. And if this pitch, like you said, if the pitching staff stays like this, you can end up beating anybody.
I hope so, Hogs, because how fun would it be to go to another postseason game in Minneapolis for crying out loud?
It so would. And I mean, my voice with going to all these Wolves games that I've been going to and from the playoffs a couple years ago, I am going to need vocal cord surgery here soon. But man, I'm all for it. If I lose my voice and they make a run, I'm fine with that.
Series grades.
The Brewers didn't look great in this series, obviously, and our pitching just looked phenomenal. But my goodness, Hogs, to win 2 games out of 3 on the road with this lineup, it has to be an A. If they were full strength, I'd probably make it, and the streak still ended. Let's say they won the first 2 games and then they lost in the third. I think I still give them an A, honestly, because they beat a team that's not a bad baseball team by any stretch, and to keep winning these games, Hogs, it's hard not to feel very confident in this team.
I'm giving them an A2, and I have nothing more to add. You said it perfectly. Speaking of perfect, one thing that you absolutely want to be perfect is your internet. Attention, Minnesota, there's a new high-speed internet sheriff in town. Gateway Fiber has landed in Blaine, Brooklyn Park, Champlin, Coon Rapids, Maple Grove, and Plymouth, with plans to expand deeper into Minnesota. Gateway Fiber boasts a fiber optic network that exceeds the capabilities of some of the biggest players in the business, giving you more whiz for less cost for all of your online working, streaming, gaming, and whatevering. With no hidden fees, no data caps, and no installation fees, Gateway Fiber is perfect for your home or business. Go to gatewayfiber.com to get fast, reliable, and affordable high-speed fiber internet.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
Money, do. So, Shohei Ohtani, your guy, Hogs, gets K'd by the A's catcher Johnny Pereda during a blowout. Can you believe it?
You see these players struggle with position players sometimes, and it makes you wonder if maybe they should just throw a guy in there that's throwing 55. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, they don't give up that many runs, and I get that your mindset at the plate maybe isn't that great. But man, when I was playing, when you ever had a guy come in that wasn't normally a pitcher, I would just start drooling and be like, I want to come to bat because I am going to mash. Like, and you can't tell me that those major leaguers aren't trying to do that. It makes me think we might be onto something. You know what? Maybe I'm going to try to resurrect my career. I can get up to 70 now. Maybe those guys can't hit that. I could be the next rookie, David.
Okay. Maybe, Hogs.
Bert's got my tape, too. Bert has my tape.
You know what they say? Fool me once, strike 1. But fool me twice, strike 3.
That would be you, Hogs, on the mound. You throw one pitch at 70 miles an hour, then you throw a second pitch at 70 miles an hour, and it's like, and that one was hit further than any ball in the history of baseball. Second note here, Phillies Alvarado gets an 80-game PED suspension, Hogs, which I feel like these don't happen all that often, or at least among players that really matter, but he's been one of the Phillies' best relievers, so it's going to be a big loss for the Phillies. I don't know. How many guys are using PEDs that aren't traceable right now? Probably a lot, but I guess it just feels to me that like we don't see these articles. I felt like a few years ago, it was like every few weeks you got to notice that somebody, like remember the Ryan Braun stuff with the Brewers and things like that?
Well, even Tatis, that wasn't all that long ago, but yeah, that was about 2 or 3 years ago. I am choosing to believe that the game is cleaner now than it has ever been. I don't know if that's actually true, but I'm going to live in my land of butterflies and rainbows and say that the game is cleaner.
The land where Ohtani knew nothing about this betting.
I still don't think he did. Also, like this one looks like it was just a weight loss drug. So yes, it is a PED, but it doesn't look like it was like steroids necessarily, at least from what I could tell so far. Again, you're responsible for what goes into your body, no excuses, but it doesn't look like this was really trying to gain an advantage in the game, which I still stand by. You should still get suspended. But yeah, there's a little caveat to that.
Was it you who I was talking to one time who said you should have a separate league where guys can just use
I don't
drugs?
necessarily support that, but there was a guy that was trying to do that for a while, and I would watch. Like it is entertaining.
And you use bats that are like 8 inches thick.
Just use aluminum bats and then just see what happens. Pitchers are just getting pelted. They're gonna have to wear armor when they're up there.
Yes, but you do hope the guys are clean here. You want them to be healthy and performing, and you just don't want to give young kids kids the wrong idea. So I like music a lot. I listen to a ton of music. And one of the things that gets really frustrating online is that so many people set up videos of themselves singing, but they're heavily edited and they're tone and pitch corrected. And it's like when a little kid sees that and they're singing and they think, oh, I'm not singing as well as those people are online. It's like those people aren't singing for real. And so it's kind of the same way. Like, and I realize it's a little bit different when we're talking T-ball to major league. But you know what I mean? When you see a guy like Mark McGwire, whose career was derailed once it comes out that he's on PEDs and he's got to stop using them, like, you don't want kids to look up to these people who aren't playing cleanly.
Well, we talked about devaluing the Hall of Fame, devaluing the game of baseball. I don't think just about nothing devalues the game more than using performance-enhancing drugs. So hopefully they are cleaning it up. I think Trevor Plouffe actually has a great take on this too, where it makes him super mad because any guy who's doing that is taking a job away from a guy who is trying to do it the right way. And that's what frustrated him the most. And as a former major league player, that really hit me. It was like, well, yeah, he is. That's impacting someone else's career, their livelihood, their family. I want it out. I have zero patience for it.
All right, well, let's end on a fun one here, Hogs. The Red Sox released their new City Connect jerseys. They're Green Monster inspired. I'll let you go first on your thoughts, and then I'll give my thoughts.
Well, I don't like them. I like anything with the Red Sox that isn't red. I don't like. And David, we need to come back to this a little bit too. I don't like the Red Sox. Like, I never have. I don't know why you have this love affair with them. I understand Jimmy Fallon, Cameron Diaz, Fever Pitch.
Not Cameron. Drew Barrymore.
I'm sorry.
Get
You're
your
right.
rom-com
You're right.
straight,
Yes.
Hogs. My goodness.
But they are Evil Empire 2.0, and so just anything with them isn't that great to me. I did root for them over the Yankees, but then so much stuff comes out afterwards. Johnny Damon ends up going to the Yankees, so it's like just turncoats on his own team. Manny Ramirez ends up kind of being a jerk when it all is said and done. Pedro Martinez, I think I'm a Pedro Martinez fan still, but yeah, if we're choosing them over the Yankees, sure. About any of the other clubs, no. And they're the Red Sox. They should be red.
Okay, well, you are just wrong about this because these jerseys are straight fire. I love them so much. If you go to Fenway and you see the green everywhere, it's just cool that they've found a way to incorporate that into their jerseys. Also, if you haven't watched The Clubhouse, A Year with the Red Sox on Netflix, you should do so.
We need a sounder. We need a sounder for your Red Sox love right now.
Well, okay, it's really fun.
You make fun of Dan all the time, and I think you're worse.
I very well could be. But I just think that, like, the Netflix specials that they do like that, it's shot just like Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
And so I do wonder, like, someone like me, who I spent this afternoon after the Twins game trying to speed watch the F1 race here so I can see what happened. Like,
that was a nice little pun. Speed watch a race. I liked it.
That's good. Thank you.
It's like a pun. It's a play on words.
I do get it.
But so I just think that it's cool if people from other countries are watching this documentary about the Red Sox and it gets them interested in baseball. It'd be fun to be like, you run into a guy from Eastern Europe who's like, oh yeah, I'm a big Red Sox fan. It's like, how do you even know baseball? You know what I mean? It's just,
those
really interesting.
Well, yeah, and those documentaries are so well done too. Like they really, really are great. And it always cracks me up because honestly, I think I could watch something and it would be about the most boring thing in the world when you really think about it. And they make it interesting. And then afterwards, you're like, oh man, it was really cool because they finished 17th in the F1 race and it was an awesome episode. And it's like, you have to watch it. It was good. It was actually good.
There's just one scene that I really want to quickly mention about the Red Sox documentary here. I think it's Jarren Duran. I'm not 100% sure if that's who it is, but it just shows him warming up after an inning where he struck out, and he is just berating himself so aggressively. And my favorite line is he goes, he only throws at 91 miles an hour. And he's just absolutely just tearing himself apart. And he's those are just the funniest way.
It's cool insight though, right? Like it's seeing that these guys, and also it is funny, like a guy throwing 91, I would just be whipping my pants off. But like to them, it's like, no, I should have hit that. Like so much of all of this is on social media where guys are trying to shut themselves off to a certain extent, right? Because like the fans are always there in their faces and they don't always give that side of them. To see that side that guys care so deeply, I love that. Like I absolutely love that.
Okay, well, with that, let's go ahead and make our Puckett's picks for the upcoming Guardians series.
And we'll see you tomorrow. Puckett's picks.
The listeners are going to stick with Larnach, which I don't think is a bad call, but my goodness, Royce Lewis looks like he's coming back, Hogs. Yeah. Royce Lewis looks like he is coming back to true form.
He is the one.
So I have to take him off the board, and then it'll go to you, Hoges.
I think I'm going to go... I don't know. This is so difficult right now because so many of the big guns are on the bench right now. I wanted Lewis. I think I'm going to go Cody Clemens. I think I'm going to mix it up a little bit and go with him.
I love it, Hoges. I love it more than anything because I would have taken him if Lewis hasn't shown that he's definitely turned a corner.
Yeah, if today doesn't happen, do you take Clemens then?
Probably, yeah. But Dan then is going to go with Brooks Lee. Not a bad pick either. He seems to be figuring it out at the plate as well. But with that, Hoges, we're going to have a little bit of a break from Hoges. I think I'm going to do some traveling in a few weeks. But other than that, it'll be me and Dan back together again. And Hoges, you're leaving the country for a while too.
I am getting over to Italy for a bit. Should be fun, but I'll keep in touch with the Twins while I'm over there for sure.
Sounds good. Well, Hoges, if you wouldn't mind, since we're not going to hear from you in a while, go ahead and send us out.
Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win and find our Min for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform so that you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you could leave us a rating or a like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon, link in the description. Thanks for listening, and as always, go Twins.
That'll wrap up another episode of Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins.